Hello world, this is Daniel from Nerds with Academy, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite books that I've recently reread. It is Lev Grossman's The Magicians. So, The Magicians is a contemporary fantasy book, and it's focusing on the character of Quentin Coldwater. So Quentin is he's a genius, he's the smartest kid in the room. And he really only has a couple friends in the whole world. Julia, this girl that he's got a crush on, and Julia's not really into him, and his other friend, James. And of course, they're a couple, and so he's sort of he's the third wheel in this situation. And so The Magicians follows Quentin as he leaves for a basically magical school. It follows kind of the same structure as Harry Potter does, where you have sort of this kid who doesn't really know what's going on, and then he goes to magical school, and that fills him with purpose. However, The Magicians is more... It takes a much darker tone, and it's more like if Harry Potter went to college instead and had to deal with college age coming of age problems, as opposed to the problems of being an 11-year-old. He's in for a bit of a rude awakening, and this is one of the key parts of the book, in my opinion, and just one of the key themes. Because when Quentin goes to break bills, he quickly learns that magic is actually a lot of hard work. It's not like you just wave your hand and you say Wingardium Leviosa or whatever, and then I know that's a joke, and then suddenly stuff flies in the air. Instead, it's actually an incredibly complicated and really difficult process whereby you have to take all these, they call circumstances, into account. And the circumstances are, what phase the moon is on, where the nearest body of water is, like how big the thing you're trying to manipulate is, and whether or not it's a Tuesday. And so it makes it really hard to do magic. And so really what magic in Lev Grossman's world comes down to is magic comes down to a huge amount of hard work and study and really just putting your nose to the grindstone. And this is this is one of the reasons why Quentin is one of the only people that can learn it, because he is he's a savant when it comes to languages, as it were, pretty good at least compared to some of the other kids. And so that allows him to pick up these ancient languages that have sort of the building blocks for casting spells. I should be happy, Quentin thought. I'm young and alive and healthy, I have good friends, and I have two reasonably intact parents, vis-a-vis Dad, an editor of medical textbooks, and Mom, a commercial illustrator with ambitions thwarted of being a painter. I'm a solid member of the middle class. My GPA is a number higher than most people even realize it is possible for a GPA to be. But walking along Fifth Avenue in Brooklyn, his black overcoat and his gray interview suit, Quentin knew he wasn't happy. Why not? He had painstakingly assembled all the ingredients of happiness. He had performed all the necessary rituals, spoken the words, lit the candles, made the sacrifices. But happiness, like a disobedient spirit, refused to come. He couldn't think of what else to do. And so the key theme in this book is, I think, in my opinion, it's about happiness, really. It's not really about magic, and it's less about the fantastical aspects of the world than it is about that. And so really it's about what we think is going to make us happy and how a lot of the time that doesn't make us happy. So prior to going to break bills, Quentin just felt like, oh, if only I knew magic, I could be happy. And then he goes and he learns magic, and he works really hard, and he's still not really happy afterward. And it's a pretty sort of dark take on that, and then sort of super minor spoiler alert, but after he's done with school, basically the administrators say, okay, we taught you magic, now go do something. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? So in this universe, there is no great evil enemy that's trying to take over the world or anything. It's just he knows magic now. And he sort of gets to this situation where he's like, okay, now well, now what? And he's almost right where he started. And I think that's one of the things about this book that really appeals to me personally, is that I've definitely been in that place where I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do next, and I've completed this, I did this, I did A, B, and C, but I'm not quite sure what D is supposed to be. And I think that's one of the things that makes this book really strong. In terms of the writing style, the writing is very witty and sharp, and I think it's very, very well written. It's super easy to read. The character development is a little bit less deep than some other novels that you may read, but I think it's still pretty good. The only criticism that I have about this book that's kind of a criticism and kind of not, is that the way it's paced is kind of strange. About the first 2/3 of the book is Quentin going to, it's the course of 5 years of Brakebills, which is again sort of his magical college. And the last like third of the book is about a day and a half of him going on an adventure. And it's very strange to me that so much of his sort of emotional development happens in so little time, but on both ends. Like, you have so much, it's basically the 5 years is compressed and then the one day is really expanded, and that was the only thing about the book that just felt a little bit weird to me. But overall, I think it's very good, and I highly recommend it to anyone interested in magical stories, but also anyone interested in anyone just interested in coming of age stories in general. You might also really be interested in these books if you liked the Narnia books, partially because in the universe, Quentin, he is dealing with, or he's really excited about this fictitious magical. In this book, Quentin is really interested in this fictitious world called Fillory, and Fillory is sort of akin to Narnia, except it's a little bit darker than Narnia. It has sort of these sinister undertones to it that Quentin mentions, and he's just completely obsessed with those books, and those really color his interpretation of what magic is going to be, and that's why he's so excited when he gets this initial task to become a magician. So overall, I think I really like the book a lot. I think it's one of my favorites that I've read in the last 5 years. There are 2 other books that I'm going to be reviewing. The Magician King is the second one, and The Magician's Land is the third one. And so I will be talking about those as well. And those ones will be a little bit more spoilery than this video, just because I will be talking about what happens in the first book and the second one. So anyway, yeah, definitely let me know what you guys thought of The Magicians if you've read it, and also what things you think that I should take a look at next. Anyway, thanks everyone, and I hope to see you next time.